So, hello everybody and welcome to a Week 10 bye-week Eagles Chat. This Eagles Chat will basically be covering how the Eagles season has gone so far and what's to come as the Eagles head into the harder part of their schedule. We also will be covering big-time injuries as well. But before you go any more into this Eagles Chat, make sure to subscribe to the Eagles Chat YouTube channel as well as liking this Eagles Chat video. And if you want to see daily updates on your birds, make sure to follow us on Instagram at ChatEagles. You also can see updates on when we'll be posting Eagles Chats next as well. So make sure to show us some love by following us on Instagram. Let's get into this Week 10 Eagles Chat. We're going to start off with the injury update. And firstly, we'll have Dallas Goedert. Now, I know the big thing with him and with the Eagles in general is their tight end situation. Now, yes, you have Jack Stoll, you have Grant Calcaterra, but Calcaterra is also dealing with an injury of his own. So right now, the Eagles are in a kind of a strange situation with tight ends. Goedert not going to be back for a few weeks. So right now, the Eagles are really looking into a tight end to see what to do in the tight end situation. Any news that comes out about that as we get closer to game time next week, I will not hesitate to keep you guys updated. You can find those updates on the Eagles Chat Instagram story at ChatEagles. But as of now, that's the situation tight end-wise. We now go on to another one, Mr. Jalen Hurts. We all know last week in the Dallas game, Jalen Hurts went down, was holding on to his knee. Now, hopefully with this bye week, they can work on the knee, kind of work it, relax it and whatnot. And we'll see how, he does in practice this week. But as of now, we're just keeping an eye on Hurts and whatnot to see, making sure everything is good with that knee. And if any updates come out about that knee, we'll not hesitate to keep you guys updated as usual. Another injury we're also looking at right here is Nakobe Dean. He's been all over the place all season. Started off the season, got hurt, came back. Now he's injured again with a foot injury. So Nakobe Dean, up and down. Now, we don't know if we'll be back in time for the Kansas City Chiefs game, but like I said, any updates about that, we'll not hesitate to let you know. Now, another injury we're also looking at right now is a big piece of the Eagles' defense right here, Mr. Bradley Roby. Now, thing about him, he is most likely to come back during the Kansas City Chiefs game. Now, if any other news comes out about that as the week goes on, we'll not hesitate to keep you guys updated. But as of now, he is most likely to return during that Kansas City Chiefs game, and that would be a very positive sign for the Eagles defense. Now, going into another one, we're also looking at a big piece of the Eagles O-line, Cam Jurgens. He was expected to be returning in the near future. We'll be monitoring that closely as well, but he is also would be a big piece for the Eagles to gain back, especially for their offensive line. But now going into next with the Eagles' remaining schedule, and let's start to go over it. We'll start off here with the Kansas City Chiefs. They go up against at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City. They then return to Philadelphia. They go up against the Buffalo Bills. Again in Philadelphia against the San Francisco 49ers, then go on the road against Dallas, on the road again against Seattle, return home against the New York Giants on Christmas Day, and then go up against the Cardinals as well at home, and then finishing out the season in New York or North Jersey against the New York Giants. So right now, this is the remaining schedule. Obviously, this is the part that everybody is watching. Starting off with the Kansas City Chiefs, ending with the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, with the Chiefs, that's going to be a tough one. You're going to Arrowhead on Monday Night Football, so you're playing an Arrowhead at a primetime game. That's going to be tough. Now, you're going up against the Buffalo Bills, which have not been doing that great at all. So that we'll see. You're playing the Buffalo Bills at home, as long as San Francisco, which was doing iffy, but just today had a big-time win over Jacksonville. So right now, the 49ers looking like they're starting to get their legs back, as they also have a lot of injured players that are recovered as well. And then, of course, you already know this is going to be tough. Going on the road in Dallas, it's always tough to play in Dallas. It's always tough for this rivalry to play in, if Dallas plays in Philly, it's tough. If Philly plays in Dallas, it's tough as well. So that's the type of rivalry this is. It's a big-time rivalry, and that's what you have to expect. And then, can't even count out the Seahawks. Yes, they've been having an iffy season, but who knows what the record will be by that time. And then here are the Giants, Cardinals, Giants. That's this right here should be some wins. Now, obviously, you never want to look over the team. That is probably the worst thing you can do in sports. But they should get some wins out of this. Now, if the Eagles come out of this with a good record, come out with a good amount of wins, the Eagles should be sitting pretty to finish out the season. Now, we'll see how things go. This is going to be tough, but they should, like I said, get a good amount of wins out of this bottom row right here. So we move now on to the defense. Now, I'm going to straight up say, I know everybody can probably agree with me when I say this, it's been a up and down season for the Eagles defense, and that going for, both parts, defensive line, secondary. It's been an up and down part. Now, along the way, I understand you got Kevin Byard, which you just picked up. Now, it's going to be taking some time in effect to get him, used to the defense with Sean Desai, the Eagles defensive coordinator. And you also, if you have Bradley Roby coming back, that will also be a big piece coming back to the Eagles defense as well. But right now, the main thing with the Eagles defense is consistency. Sometimes, some games, they're lights out. Some games, they seem to be Swiss cheese. And that defensive line, they start off the beginning of the year a little iffy, but now they are starting to get their legs with Joshua Sweat, Haason Reddick really getting there some more. Fletcher Cox has been playing absolutely brilliant these past games. So it's glad to see the defensive line starting to get their grip. I know at the beginning of the season was a little rough, but then again, at the beginning of the season, since they don't really play too much in preseason, the first 3 weeks are kind of a learning experience to get the defense rust off. And that's not just the Eagles, it's every team in the league. Usually the first 2 weeks of the NFL season is pretty sloppy, as a lot of teams, pretty much every team is trying to get into some type of a rhythm. But now, going on to the Eagles offense. We're going to start off with the offensive line. A very, very strong offensive line. I'm sure, as we all know, the brotherly shove, probably one of the best plays in football. Hey, you're doing something right if you're making the rest of the league cry. It seems like the Eagles do it every year, but hey, it's nothing new. The Eagles do something good, the rest of the league cries about it. I'm sure as Eagles fans, we're all used to that. But the offensive line being great, it's very, very strong. You got Kels up there. You have Lane Johnson on the side. An absolutely incredible offensive line. They show their power every game by making a QB sneak, which should only pick up around 2 yards. Sometimes it picks up around 4 yards and keeps going. So, very strong offensive line, as on with Jalen Hurts back there with his being very powerful as well. So, the offensive line is very good. Now, the main thing with Jalen Hurts, it doesn't just stop with a talented offensive line. You have very talented receivers. You have a very talented running back staff as well with Gainwell and Swift. And then as well, look at your receivers. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and the newcomer, Julio Jones. So, you just look at your receivers right there. Hurts really needs to, I'm starting to notice it now. He's starting to get a little more relaxed now back there. And I really think he needs to start putting more trust in his offensive line and his receivers. Not being so, scarce every time the ball is snapped, to be there a few seconds and then all of a sudden, or, 1 or 2 seconds, and then if he doesn't see something right away, to run out of the pocket. You have a very talented offensive line. And Hurts is starting to do better at this. You got talented receivers, talented running backs, and a very strong offensive line. He needs to relax a little more, and I'm noticing he is. And look at his previous games. His passing yards and whatnot have gone up, and Jalen Hurts is playing incredible. But speaking of him, let's get into Jalen Hurts himself. So Jalen Hurts this season has not been too bad. Yes, he started off a little shaky, but then again, the whole team started off shaky to this season. Jalen Hurts has a completion percentage of 68.9, passing yards of 2,347, 15 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a rating of 97.0. So Jalen Hurts, not too bad. Like I said, start off the season a little shaky, but ever since then, Hurts has been starting to relax a little more in the pocket. He's been able to be completing passes. I've also been noticing he's been getting passes away a lot quicker. Hasn't been holding on to the ball as long as he usually has been in the beginning of the season. So that right there is a very, very good sign. And I'm glad to see Hurts developing, getting better as the season goes on. Remember, people, he's human. Mistakes happen, but I mean, right now, Jalen Hurts playing absolutely incredible, and hopefully can continue that into next week. But that's all I really got to say for this Week 10 bye-week Eagles chat. And as you all know, next week, Eagles will be going up against the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football, Monday, November 20th, 8:15 p.m. So make sure to catch the Eagles as they go up against the team that beat them in the Super Bowl, a rematch right here. Hopefully the Eagles can come out of Arrowhead with a W. I mean, hey, prime time at Arrowhead Stadium. Nothing gets really too much tougher than that. And I mean, especially when you're the road team. So we'll see what the Eagles can do. Hopefully consistency is the name of the Eagles game. And hey, if the Eagles stay consistent, I think they will come out with a pretty big W. So that's all I really got to say for this Week 10 bye-week Eagles chat. And as I always say, go Birds.